I would like to call to the stage the moderator of the panel, Mr. Layth Al-Qasim, the chairman of the Arabian Business Consultants for Development. And I'd like to also call to the stage our panelists this afternoon. We have Mr. Omar Hamarne, the executive director at IPARC, an advisor to Princess Sumaya, and the president of the Royal Scientific Society. We call to the stage Mr. Zaid Hasban, a serial entrepreneur and the co-founder and CEO of POS Rocket. Ms. Victoria Lennox, the co-founder and CEO of Startup Canada. Mr. Abdullah Snowbal, the executive director, Digital Media Zone at Ryerson University. Please join me in welcoming our panelists and moderator.
Thank you very much, Walid. As usual, we're a little bit short on time, so don't try to be very efficient with this. I prepared a series of questions with our colleagues at BDC to try to understand opportunities and context, and maybe look for ways that we can find cooperation between Jordan and Canada. I'd like to start maybe with you, Abdullah. What I'm interested in is the economic future opportunities in Canada. What do you see them as? Just to give us, where do you see Canada moving and opportunities there in the economy?
Sure. Turn this on.
There we go. So first of all, thank you very much. It's very exciting to be here today. It's a very sweet moment. I'm actually dual citizen of Jordan and of Canada, so it's an absolute honor to be on stage. I gotta say, first off, the DMZ has been to Jordan before, and we're extremely excited to be back, this time with His Excellency. We have looked at doing and cooperating in ways that's focusing on women and youth, and doing projects that would really help bring economic prosperity to both areas. The DMZ is a technology incubator located in downtown Toronto. We currently house more than 75 companies and about 500 people. We've seen more than 220 companies graduate, 2,500 jobs being created, and over $220 million in capital raised. I say all that because it gives you context as to what we're trying to do. And the potential opportunities for Canada really lies, and I think this is a very common thing to say, is around innovation. It's really an opportunity for people to take their own fate in their hands and drive things forward. We've seen in the past decade, if you will, a large number of incubators, accelerators, and even the change in universities and what they're doing and how they deliver a curriculum change substantially to allow the youth and people in the communities that want to take their ideas and turn them into innovations or turn them into reality, be able to do so. So innovation has become a crown jewel of the country and allowing us to do things differently. We know, and many people know as well, that Canadian talent is quite highly regarded. Our diversity is actually one of our strongest keys to success. And of course, the people and our stakeholders in our community has allowed us to do a lot more. So innovation in that realm has really become a fast-paced, moving kind of component in Canada that I believe will actually allow us to become a much more thriving nation than we already are right now.
You see innovation being, just a general thing, or you are focusing on specific sectors?
Well, I think it's going to always be generally speaking, and of course, certain countries and certain cities have to focus on what they're really good at. So in Toronto, for example, we're very good at financial technology. We're very good at health technology. We're getting a lot more into sports innovation, and these are areas that we're getting much better at. But it's not to limit it to just those things, and it shouldn't also just be technology either. It should be around the entire space. And it's interesting for me to see. I just sat down for a few minutes beside a wonderful lady called Lema Shasha, and she's already taken it upon herself to say we need to build out opportunities in this country for youth, and being able to take them and provide them more than just the curriculum and the traditional theoretical teachings. Rather, try to say how do we deliver practical learning into an environment like this today that's going to get them to understand in all different forms. It doesn't have to be in one specific vertical. It can be across all different verticals.
Thank you very much. Moving on to you, Victoria. Abdullah mentioned helping the youth and empowering the youth and working with the youth. What sort of things are you doing in Canada in these areas?
So Canada is very rich when it comes to the abundance of natural resources, but I think as a nation what we've come to understand is that our best resource is our people. And so with our 36 million Canadians, our goal with Startup Canada is that we have a nation of entrepreneurs that are creating businesses that are also entrepreneurial, and that also includes a generation of youth. So whether it's innovation happening in Charlottetown around biotechnology, or in Fredericton around cyber tech and cybersecurity, or in Toronto with fintech, or our arts sector in Vancouver, we're building a nation of entrepreneurs because we know that entrepreneurs innovate, they solve problems, and they really focus on solutions. So what Startup Canada's done is it's taken that youthful generation of millennials and it's leveraged technology to create a massive network of entrepreneurs across Canada who are supporting one another. We realize that governments can open up trade between global opportunities between our nations, but at the end of the day, it's the role of the entrepreneurs to walk through those doors and create those partnerships. So we've really invested in creating local networks of support for entrepreneurs to connect them to accelerators and incubators, as well as to talent and infrastructure, but also to global markets. So what I'm so excited to see in Canada is the coming together of the grassroots entrepreneurship ecosystem, the entrepreneurs, 2.7 million of them, with government to create an innovation nation. And it really is our young people who are using the technology to drive forward and create the momentum that's demanding a change in our institutions. And it's wonderful to see the transformation. The opportunities between Jordan and Canada are many, starting with social innovation, inclusivity through entrepreneurship, empowering women, and then looking deeply at our core competencies around agri-tech, water security, and also health. So how can we work together? And I think our young people are stepping forward and really want to see opportunities happen, which is why we're here today.
Thank you very much, Victoria. I'd like to move on to one of our Jordanian colleagues, Mr. Zaid Islam, and ask you, for the benefit of our Canadian colleagues, where do you see opportunities in the world? Economic opportunities, where do you see our direction going? And then maybe we can identify maybe points of linkage between what you see and what we see.
Actually, Jordan currently has many challenges, of which lack of water, especially with more than 2 million refugees fleeing to Jordan in the last few years, and also with all the instability in the region. Jordan imports its oil and gas from other countries, so we fully rely on importing our oil and gas. But to really think about it, what is life without challenges? So us as humans, we must take advantage of these challenges and convert them into opportunities. Because when you have challenges, it's in the human nature. You would want to get out of your way, you would want to get out of the box, and you want to do more and work more. So we should take these challenges and convert them into opportunities. For example, it's very important to see that instead of Jordan importing oil and gas, it could shift to renewable energy. And we could utilize, we have excellent landscape here in Jordan that we could utilize for our renewable energy sector. For example, the Shams Ma'an project. Shams Ma'an project today accounts for almost 2% of our energy sector, which is a huge number for one project. So with more projects like these, we can save millions, maybe billions of dollars and utilize this money into different sectors. Also that 70% of Jordan's population is under 30 years old. So I would say this generation, like myself, we will be thirsty to do change. We will be thirsty to get out of our way. So I think with also an excellent reputation in the neighboring countries for our education. So looking at the free trade agreements between Jordan and many other countries, including the US, Canada, and European countries, investors and entrepreneurs can take advantage of such agreements, and it will encourage them and motivate them to start businesses. I learned the other day that there's a Jordanian company that produce Dead Sea products for pets. and exports it to Canada. So this is a very niche product that we can tap into that market. And I want to speak about the personal experience here. Since I'm in the ICT sector, and due to the nature of my business, the government and His Majesty King Abdullah decided that starting this year to reduce the income tax from 20% to 5%, and then from the sales tax from 16% to 0%. So this by itself confirms me as an entrepreneur, I will definitely stay in Jordan, and if I want to expand to other countries, Jordan will be my headquarters.
Thank you very much. I asked Abdullah about what Canada is doing for entrepreneurs. I'd like to take some time to talk about the ecosystem, how we're helping the youth and entrepreneurs.
Sure, thank you. I think Jordan is actually, probably for the last 2 years now, really developed an ecosystem. Since the year 2000, there have been projects and programs that have been doing capacity building and training, and there's been investments and there's been incubation. But I think only the last few years did we see them really come together and build on each other's successes and know-how. And so to answer your question, a lot today is offered to entrepreneurs. So today we're at BDC. I actually attended very early on one of the courses in BDC and learned how they're teaching people to develop business plans and so on. So from teaching the concepts of entrepreneurship, of business, and then moving on to organizations that can actually provide some of the services needed for people before they start to even make their decision if they want to be business owners or not, and so on and so forth, and to universities, and moving on into organizations like business incubators and business accelerators with all the financial support needed. Now, I think it's probably important to mention that a lot of this is still clustered in Amman, in the capital, and not so much outside of Amman, and there's a few challenges with that. But I think probably over the last 24 months we've started to branch out and move on with that as well. So our organization, the Scientific Society, is now working with others up north to actually deal with part of the problem of finding what opportunities exist for the refugees and the Jordanians up north. So we're looking at business incubation there with regard to 3D printing and CNC, but also in the vocational sphere, including training, capacity building, and incubation. We're looking down south today to look at providing opportunities and maybe to mix it to one sectors, the previous question as well. We're looking at, in a sense, looking at the larger investments down south with regard to hospitality, with regard to tourism, with regard to logistics, and looking at how we can support entrepreneurship in those sectors and those activities, because in the end of the day, with the growth of the population from refugees as well as natural growth, there's a lot of burden on infrastructure and so on and so forth, and it's an opportunity to leverage innovation, technology, and efficiency in helping deliver the kind of services like logistical and so on and so forth. So between incubators and accelerators, we're really looking at how we can help Jordanian startups and Jordanian entrepreneurs address some of the opportunities of being able to develop and bridge a lot of the verticals that we were good at, be it healthcare or pharma or IT. Now we're starting to be able to help them deliver across those sectors as well.
Thank you very much. Victoria, back to you. I saw on your bio that you're a social entrepreneur and you've done a lot of work in that and Startup Canada. One of the things that we have been struggling with in Jordan is we've put a lot of emphasis on academic education, which is fine, but I would like to hear from you. If you were to look at attitude or skills or a university degree, which is most important to you from your point of view and why? Can you list them in categories, what's most important, second, third, and why?
It's so difficult to choose. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, attitude is everything in your mindset. Seeing the glass is always half full, having perseverance and hustle, and seeing opportunity everywhere. But I think our education institutions all have an important role to play in equipping our young people, our youth, with that mindset of being innovative through design thinking. But I think when it comes to experience and education, particularly around entrepreneurship and innovation, nothing beats experiential learning. That's why in Canada, many of our universities focus on co-op opportunities. The University of Waterloo helps companies to start up businesses while they're in school, same with Ryerson University's Digital Media Zone. There's a focus across our institutions on how we can create entrepreneurial students that can really take us to the next level. But also, in Canada, our fastest growing population is our Indigenous youth. And they're seeing opportunities to employ social innovation and entrepreneurship as a new way of creating hope on reserves and a new way of creating a future that they can pioneer on their own. And so that's all very exciting. We also see, to the point of Mr. Husband, we're also seeing in Canada as well a movement then away from just our urban areas and developing sophisticated entrepreneurship ecosystems, and it's world class, but to rural and remote communities, so that we have a nationally connected, robust entrepreneurship ecosystem in Canada that can ensure that we accelerate the growth of technologies to global levels. But when it comes to the question at the end of the day, it requires that we all have an entrepreneurial mindset, and that as we train our policymakers and our lawyers and our educators, that they're helping to instill that culture in all of our institutions.
Thank you very much for that. I'm going to ask the same question to Zaid, because it's important to know that in BDC, where we are today, that this is the gap that they're trying to fill, is trying to instill this entrepreneurial mindset. Zaid, to you, as a business owner, as somebody who started up his own business, what is most important to you? Is it attitude, is it skill sets, or is it a degree? And why do you categorize them as such?
I would like to answer this question actually by asking a question. The question is, what is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is a person that doesn't take no for an answer. An entrepreneur is a person that learns the value of the word suffer. So you as an entrepreneur, you will suffer. It's not even optional. So you would wake up one day, you're on top of the world. Next day you would wake up, you really want to shut down the company. So it's a roller coaster. And you would want to do your cash flow, you would manage your sales reports. You have to do everything. So it's frustrating, and it can be actually emotionally devastating. So without a winner attitude and self-motivation and dedication, I think this will be your fuel to carry on and reach your goal. So that being said, I think the most important part is a positive and winner attitude. And skills, they can be learned by time and practice. They come along the way. And education is also important, but if you ask me, it is the third on the list. Education really helps you to be in the right mindset. It helps you, do your schedules. It helps you communicate with people. So education, it gives you a good base. But the most important part is definitely a winner attitude.
Thank you very much, Zaid. Question to you, Abdullah. I want to talk about international cooperation. Okay? I have your part of an ecosystem, Mr. Hamad is part of the ecosystem. I would like to know, we're fortunate that you're a dual citizenship because you have a foot here and a foot there in Canada. Where do you see potential for cooperation between Jordan and Canada?
So that's a great point, and I think there's going to be a lot, especially after a trip like this, where we can actually see the great potential that comes from both sides, and the talent that's actually clearly evident on both sides as well. A few of the areas I would say, number one, it's around cooperation on youth programs. And I think this is an area that we believe in truly at the university, but also in Canada, where how do you start providing education on innovation and entrepreneurship before university? While they're in elementary school, while they're in actual high school, before they even get to a part where they have to start making decisions on where they want to work, they're able to build this mindset that they can actually get into innovation and entrepreneurship at a very young age. Another part is around probably the biggest and most important asset any community can ever have, which is women. To be completely honest with you, I think this is an area that we don't talk about enough. But we believe, and we've seen it ourselves, that women are an economic engine to any community that can actually have innovation thrive. So for that reason, I also see that there's a huge amount of opportunity between both countries to work on an angle like this. As we said earlier, Jordan is not a country that has much natural resources, but there is a huge talent base. And what we always say as well is innovation drives, or necessity drives innovation. So for that case, how do you start working together on areas that you know are are very strong in your community that can obviously complement what we're doing in Canada as well, but work in tandem with each other. And of course, for us, ICT is going to be a huge area.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hanan.
Thank you. I'll answer very quickly. I guess I'll answer probably two things specifically. One on the issue of innovation. There's a lot Jordan can learn maybe from my colleague in Canada with regard to the programs that teach innovation and in the entrepreneurship, especially before university. The second point would be to also help us understand how better to probably prioritize the kind of R&D that's happening in universities and how so we can be able to commercialize that R&D, not just effectively do R&D for R&D's sake. I think we're starting to, we need help a bit with that. And lastly, probably maybe from my organization, Business Incubator, what's termed as soft landing. So maybe partnerships with similar organizations in Canada that can help Jordanian startups who are looking towards the Canadian market and partnerships to be able to, in an easier way, find partners and find opportunities.
Thank you very much. Last question, I'll leave it to anybody who wants to answer from. Time is up. I have no last questions. Thank you very much for our panelists. We've been good on time, I guess. Time for Q&A. Please.